So this is our third and final lecture on Chapter 24 regarding product liability. And this is on implied warranties. This is not something that would naturally come to you. It's something that we need to talk about a little bit. So whenever a sale of goods is made that comes within Article 2, the law implies certain warranties. Remember, implied means it's not actually expressed. The law says it's there whether you said it's there or not. And those are the implied warranties. And there are different ones, and we kind of need to go through them to understand them. Your book divides them correctly into two different categories. One are implied warranties that all sellers make, whether they know it or not. They're making this warranty, and the other ones are just merchants only. So let's start with the implied warranties that all sellers make. The first one is warranty of title. That is that I have title to these goods, and I can pass it to you. And it's not encumbered. Okay, so warranty against encumbrance essentially means that there's no liens or anything on it, that I can give it to you free and clear, which is a term everybody likes to use. The last one is not something that just comes to you intuitively. It's warranty of fitness for a particular purpose. And that arises when you as the buyer rely upon the seller for their expertise in recommending to you something that will fill your purpose, will do what you want it to do. If you have bent grass, and bent grass is a very small, that's used on golf courses on greens in the northern climates. Very different, and it's not something you cut with a regular lawnmower. So if you had bent grass, my grandfather actually did, you would need a special mower for it, etc. So you would go to somebody and say, what do you have that I can get that will help me cut the grass? It's bent grass. I used to go to the hardware store a lot. As you guys know by now, I'm not very handy. I would ask them for help. Hey, I got this, or this thing fell out, whatever this thing is, I need another one of these, or whatever it is. And when they tell you that use this and you'll be fine, they're essentially making a warranty of fitness for a particular purpose, that this is fit for what you need it to do. And so that's implied, but that's the idea. And if it doesn't do it, they breach the implied warranty. Next, additional implied warranties by merchant sellers. So a merchant seller is somebody who sells for a living, is sort of the way to think of it, okay? They're merchants, that's what they do. Not like you or I. We may sell a few items. Maybe you like to buy and sell cars, or you knit a few hats and sell them. I mean, that's not making you a merchant. You've got to have a number of these things to be done. So these warranties are ones that when you and I as consumers would go buy something, we would expect that these implied warranties exist. The first one's against infringement, which doesn't just jump out at you, but the idea with the infringement is that there's no intellectual property rights being violated. Somebody's patent or trademark or copyright, things like that. So does that mean that you could be buying music from somebody who illegally downloaded it? You can't, if they're a merchant, because that warranty against infringement. All right. The next one's the most important one there is. It's the implied warranty of merchantability. The implied warranty of merchantability means that it is what it's supposed to be. In order for something to be merchantable, it means it must pass without inspection within the trade or whatever the case may be. But it means that it is what it says it is, and it does what it's supposed to do. This is key. It doesn't say that everything's perfect. It doesn't have to be whatever. But to be merchantable, it's got to be what that thing is supposed to be. So, for example, used cars, all right? How about a used boat? That's even easier. With secondhand or used goods, there's still implied warranty there, just not the same warranty. So if I bought a boat, and the only reason I say this, I had a case like this. A guy buys a boat from a marina, and he looks at the boat, and the boat's got a leak in it, such that it's defeating the purpose of what a boat's supposed to be. When you're in a boat on the water, you're supposed to be separate from the water stays out, and you're dry inside. Well, if the water's leaking in, then you become one with the water, and you kind of defeat the whole purpose of the boat. So that, even though it's a second-hand one, it defeats the purpose of it, and it's not merchantable because it doesn't do the job of keeping you separate from the water. Used car. You may not expect the used car to do everything right. Blinkers may not work. It may have some issues with it stalling, but it's still got to work as an automobile. That is, an automobile is a car that can go on its own, and you don't have to do a Fred Flintstone. If you know what I mean. Fred Flintstone had a car in which there was no floorboard. He just ran with it and pushed the car along. It's an old joke. So it's got to work as a car in some fashion. Maybe all the speeds don't even work in the transmission, but it's still got to work as a car. So the implied warranty of merchantability is really important, and I've used it a number of times, both sometimes in commercial cases, but in consumer cases as well. And if you ever come across a problem with some merchant regarding something that just doesn't work, throw some numbers at him, throw some legal stuff at him. I got this written down. All right, you ready? I told you this class would be worth the money you spent. The implied warranty of merchantability is MCL, which stands for Michigan Compiled Laws, 440.2314. Write it down. 440.2314. It's not going to be an exam. It's something you're going to use in a letter one day when you write a nasty letter to somebody saying, hey, this thing you sold me was a pile of junk. Also, we'll talk about disclaimers in a bit, but a lot of warranties can be disclaimed. However, under the Michigan Consumer Protection Act, implied warranties of merchantability really can't be disclaimed unless they're specifically conspicuously noticed and referenced. And a lot of people don't do that. So the site for the Michigan Consumer Protection Act is MCL 445.903 parentheses 1 parentheses small p as in Paul. 445.903 parent 1 parent p. So those are your two sites. You're welcome. All right. There are a few others that come in as well. Food and drink are also covered as implied warranties. And what that means is that, number one, it's fit for human consumption. That's really important. And that it is what it's supposed to be, within some limitations, of course. No one's expecting everything to be perfect, but it should be what it's supposed to be. And if it's not, it has failed that warranty. If it says expires, 2 months from now, and it's already rotten, it violated the implied warranty of that food being merchantable, being consumable. All right. One of my favorite stories. Many years ago, we lived in Chicago, and my twin brother, yes, there's no one of me out there, doesn't look like me though, he looks like I'm supposed to, came to visit in Chicago, and we went to one of the famous Chicago-style pizza places there. And as we're eating, he bites into a piece of pizza, and it's glass. There's a piece of glass in his pizza. It's kind of creepy. So we called over the waitress and told her about it. Figure they should know there's glass in their pizza. And then some manager comes over and cops an attitude of, well, I hear you allege that there's glass. We weren't asking or seeking anything. We just thought you should know. He said, well, I'll give you a free Coke or something. It's like, stick your Coke. We never went back again. But that, in and of itself, even when you buy it for consumption on the site or you buy at a grocery store, it's the same thing. It's supposed to, the implied warranty is still there. All right. So those are the implied warranties. They're important. Next, can they be disclaimed? Unfortunately, yes. And a lot of large manufacturers do this. They will have disclaimers. It has to be conspicuous. It has to be so that you can't miss it. It literally has to be set off in a typeface and type that is larger than the rest of it. So, for example, this is actually in it, it has to be at least 12-point font. And that has to stand out more so than the rest of the font of the rest of and even if it's a pre-printed form. So it has to be at least 12. And if you don't know what that is, by the way, those numbers actually are old print centers numbers. 72 points make an inch. So 36 points makes a half inch. 18 points makes a quarter inch. So you can figure it out from there. All right. It must be, usually it's in bold, usually it's in capital, but it's got to be there so that you can see it. And if it is there, then you're kind of screwed. However, they can't give with one and take with the other. You guys may have figured out by now that there's a guy named Tom Waits that I'm a fan of, and he had a song in which he said, "The large print giveth and the small print taketh away." And there's a lot of truth to that. But if you can't have your cake and eat it too for sellers. So if it says that it gives you an express warranty, and then turns around and disclaims that express warranty in the same document, that's inconsistent, and that then becomes unconscionable and will not be enforced by courts. So make sure it says what you want it to say. It doesn't disclaim everything. And just so you know, there's no such thing as a post-sale disclaimer. I actually got one once in the mail. It said, "Hey, we disclaim any warranties, implied or expressed." It's like, no, you can't. You already sold to me. The deal's over. You can't change the terms of the deal. And finally, there's one other thing, and that's exclusion of warranty by by examination of the goods. If you get the opportunity to look at it, and especially when something is sold as is, those words mean a lot, especially on used stuff, whether it's a used house, a used car, a used guitar, a used whatever, it doesn't matter, bike. If you're allowed to examine it, right, and they're sold as is, then you should check it out and be sure that you are comfortable with what you got. And just word to the wise is, for example, if you buy a car, you're not buying for somebody you know or a relative or somebody you trust, you should have it checked out. It doesn't cost you that much to take it over to your mechanic, and someday we'll actually be able to go visit mechanics again, and ask them to check the car out for you. And ask them how much it will cost for it, or charge for it. They'll let you know. It's usually money well spent. And if you spend, say, $100, and he says, "No, the car, don't buy this car," it's $100 well spent. You saved yourself a lot of headache down the road. So something to think about. Anyway, those are implied warranties, and that's the exclusion that they try and do on it. So good luck.